Hello there. My name is STARGUTZZZ. I'm 29 years old. I love horror movies, and it took me criminally too long to watch this movie. I feel like that's a little bit of blasphemy that it's taken me this long. So if you guys would like, we can discuss execution methods for me at the end of the video.
It's a Friday once again.
Hello, my fellow freaks, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you have all had a great week. We have one final animated film to cover, and I do think that I might have saved the best for last. This is a film that's not only been recommended to me a lot, and I mean a lot, in my personal life, but back when I was instructing English 101 and 201 courses, I shit you not, I think I had about 3, maybe 4 different students all decide to do their analysis papers on this film. This is a very, very popular animated feature that I'm a little bit ashamed to say has taken me this long to finally have the opportunity to watch. But I guess it's better late than never, so let's finish up April with Perfect Blue from 1997 and directed by Satoshi Kon. Yes, as I said in my little introduction, I am 29 years old. I am obsessed with horror movies. This is one that has been recommended to me over and over and over throughout my lifetime, and I have still yet to see it until this week. I really, truly do feel ashamed that it has taken me this long. And as I said, I've had a handful of students who have chosen to analyze this movie for analysis papers. And although I have read those papers and graded them, I'm gonna be honest, that was 5 to 6 years ago, and I was also reading and grading about 40 other papers. So I retained absolutely no information that these analysis papers my students had in them. So all I really knew about Perfect Blue going into it was that it was a sort of psychological narrative focused on a girl who is haunted by pretty much the ghost of her former self. And I knew it had a lot of psychological elements to it, but oh my god, I wasn't expecting it to exactly be like this. And also I do want to say that this, even though Danny the Street 17 recommended the whole month of animated horror, I do want to specifically thank Danny for recommending this film specifically, because I think in that comment, this is the main one that you really wanted to hear me talk about, and here we are, yay. So thank you, Danny, for this recommendation. I am very, very excited to discuss all of the takeaways that I had of this psychological, very unique psychological thriller. But first, if you are new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. Any kind of like running, crashing, or loud noises that you might hear happening in the background, those are my cats. Also, my movie reviews tend to be more of a discussion of elements that I find to be good or bad about a piece, rather than giving you this full play-by-play of every single little thing that happens. So in other words, I refrain from spoilers as much as possible, but they will arise in regards to whatever discussion I want to have with the film. And I will tell you, in this case, this week, we will have a full section or chapter here in the video on just the spoiler talk, because how can you not? It's impossible for me to talk about this film and not get into the spoilers, because holy fucking shit. If you would like to watch Perfect Blue before or after this review, first let me give you a little bit of a trigger warning. There is a scene in it. In fact, you could probably argue that there's 2, and some people might be sensitive to that. So be forewarned before going into it that there are 2 scenes. But unfortunately, Perfect Blue is not available for streaming on Tubi. Right now, it's only available for streaming through HBO Max. So if you have a subscription to that, you can watch it there. You can also rent it or buy it digitally, various ways. Unfortunately, this is one where I can't really give you a link in the description. I mean, I guess I could give you the Amazon Video Prime link. I guess your third option to watch it is to just be a pirate, and if you choose to do that, then I wish you smooth sailing. I wish this was on Tubi, and I am going to call it right now, since some HBO Max movies are on Tubi now already. I'm willing to bet within a few months to a year, Perfect Blue will be on Tubi. If House 1977 is on Tubi, I'm pretty sure Perfect Blue is going to be on there eventually. Now, with all of those pleasantries out of the way, let's get right into this discussion of Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue. After being told about her promising future in acting, pop star Mimarin quits the music group Cham in pursuit of bigger and better things. While Mima is excited for this new chapter in her life, many obsessive fans are upset over her career change, with one stalker in particular lashing out in threatening and violent ways. As Mima climbs the ladder of fame, she begins to suffer with the reality of being an actress. She soon finds herself not only a target for this obsessed stalker, but also haunted by the ghost of her former pop star persona through the blog Mima's Room. As the memory of the pop star Mimarin gains sentience through the obsession and love of former fans, Mima herself begins to no longer recognize what's real and what's an illusion. By the way, I want to note going forward that I will differentiate the two kind of the same way that the movie does anyway, which is real Mima being referred to as Mima, and that idea or image of the pop star persona being referred to as Mimarin. I knew that there was going to be a psychological aspect to this film, but I didn't expect to love it nearly as much as I love the psychological aspect of films such as Magic. I especially love how Mima's mental state later on in the film gets represented by these really strange and trippy scene transitions. I think it is such a well-written psychological thriller that focuses on the horrors of fame from multiple perspectives. It's not just the perspective of the celebrity Mima, but also the perspectives of people such as obsessive fans, people in the industry themselves, and we even get some perspective of the outsiders looking in on the situation. Dude, I love everything about this narrative so much. I think it is so clever. It is so well written. Even like the mystery aspect of the film, very well written, and some of the like little hints and nods that it begins to seed into the very introduction of the film. I don't know. It is so well done. And I love how it shows like the idealized version of Mima slowly coming to life and gaining sentience because of the obsession of fans. But of course, I can't really get into that right now because it's part of our main discussion. And while watching it, I felt like a lot of Mima's story feels pretty similar to the stories of child stars after growing up, both in the way that she spirals and in the way that she decides to accept things that maybe she's not comfortable with, but she's deciding to do it to further detach herself from her previous career. And also how that former self is almost held upon a pedestal by fans. I mean, oh my god, there is so much that could be discussed and analyzed and explored with this piece that there's literally no way that I could cover all of it in a single video. There is so much going on here. But for this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my damnedest at sharing my favorite moments, my favorite aspects, and some of the readings or takeaways that I had in the narrative and what I think is the like deeper meaning of what's going on in Perfect Blue. So first of all, I think what makes Perfect Blue so memorable and what makes the narrative stand out so much more from other psychological horror movies or psychological thrillers is the way Mima's former persona, Mimarin, is treated like a literal ghost, as if she in and of herself, the idea of Mimarin was a real, which technically she is, but it's as if she herself were a real person that got killed and now she is haunting her killer, which would be Mima. As I've said, I love the portrayal of Mimarin and the way that she is seen as a literal ghost, a literal separate sentient entity detached from Mima herself. Oh my god. I love that she is treated like an actual literal ghost haunting Mima. That's what I'm trying to get at here. And I love how slowly the existence of Mimarin is introduced to the audience and how it just, man, it has such good pacing. It has really fantastic pacing. The former self, Mimarin, is treated like a completely separate entity from Mima. And Mimarin becomes stronger or more powerful. She becomes more real, so to say, the more people that feed into her image or the idea of Mimarin. And this happens such as through the stalker's obsession obsession, or I also think it's happening through Mima's own insecurities and doubts over the career that she has chosen. While it's very obvious that the stalker known as Mr. Mimania, it's very obvious that his obsession with Mimarin is a driving force in making that persona come to life and gain sentience, and that is a big focus of the film. But I also believe that Mima herself feeds into Mimarin's. This video is just gonna keep me tongue-tied. I apologize in advance. I do believe that Mima feeds into Mimarin's life force as much as Mimania does. And I get this idea or this belief solely from the fact that pretty much every conversation that Mima and Mimarin have together are centered on whether or not Mima made the correct career choice.
本当はアイドルに戻りたいと思ってるくせに違う。だって私はもうそうよね。もうアイドルなんかじゃないもんね。だってあなたはもう汚れちゃったもの。汚れたアイドルなんて誰も好きになんないよね。
And I think her own doubt and insecurities revolving this, especially as she gets into the sketchier side of acting, I think that helps a whole lot into feeding energy into this ghost Mimarin existing. Yes, the big thing is probably Mimania and his disgusting obsession with Mimarin. But Mima is also giving a lot of power to that former persona by feeding it her insecurities and doubts about acting, especially after she is accepting roles that she is not entirely comfortable with. I think she was under a lot of pressure to accept roles that she wasn't comfortable with because she believes that this is what an actress is supposed to do.
私やるよ。だって女優になるって決めたんだもん。今。
そうか、ミマ、偉いぞ。このぐらい女優なら当然だよな。
As I said, I did find a lot of Mima's story concerning going from pop idol to actress. I did think that it reminded me a lot of child stars, specifically from the Disney Channel or from Nickelodeon, and how after turning 18 or after their contract ends, however that works, they'll begin doing some of the most outrageous and adult things possible. And sometimes they are doing this for nefarious reasons, perhaps also from pressure of people in the industry, but there are other times where a former child star is probably doing this to detach themselves from that past juvenile image that they once had. Just as an example, the first name that comes to my mind for this is Miley Cyrus, but I think a more recent example would probably be JoJo Siwa. In Mima's case, her out of character behavior as she changes from pop idol to actress, I think it seems to be a mixture of a few things. And in reality, it's probably that way as well. Not everything is black and white. But for Mima, I will say she does seem to try and detach herself from that former persona as much as she can. And we can see that through interviews that she does on TV or with magazines. She does want detached from the pop star persona. But I noticed that she also begins to doubt her choice a lot because acting isn't what she thought it would be. And she starts to get put into very uncomfortable situations that she maybe isn't okay with, but goes along with it because she doesn't want to offend or disappoint those who have helped get her there. And it seems to me that the scene she accepts doing is a massive turning point in the narrative because it's a role that Mima agrees to and accepts doing despite her incredible discomfort with doing it. But why does she accept doing something that she's uncomfortable doing? Well, like I just said, she doesn't want to offend or disappoint the people who have worked hard to get her into the position that she is currently in. So she kind of feels almost forced in a way to say yes or to be easygoing about any role that comes across her desk. And I do believe that a fraction of it is further wanting to detach herself from the pop star persona. She seems to make a comment about, like, as I think I already said, like, she seems to believe that an actress is supposed to be okay with everything, that they're supposed to accept everything that comes their way, and that it doesn't matter that much because it's just acting. However, after she goes through to it, she admits to herself how much she did not not want to do that role, and how if you've watched that, she's very obviously, visibly upset that she accepted this role and went through with it.
やりたくないに決まってるじゃないの。みんなに迷惑かけられないじゃない。
And so this then, in turn, gives the persona Mimarin more fuel, you could say, into being the... what do I want to say? I guess over being who the real Mima is.
だから言ったでしょ。あれが望んだ仕事？最低。
Even though she's not the real Mima, Mima is Mima, but this insecurity, this doubt that Mima now feels after going through with the scene, it's like a big factor in adding fuel to the fire, or adding fuel to the sentience of Mimarin. Because it's after this point that things like really start to go off the rail. And so I don't know, the whole scene, and not only why she accepts doing it, but how she feels afterwards, and perhaps even how former fans feel afterwards of her accepting this role. It did just really remind me of child stars and when they grow up, how obsessive fans will put their former self up on a pedestal. There's a lot of Mima's story that I think relates heavily to real world celebrities, and not only grappling with fame, but grappling with public image or reputation, or even like personal identity. And while I do think that it mostly relates to like dozens upon dozens of different celebrity stories that are out there, I think Mima's struggle is one that anyone could relate to in a way, depending on the light that you want to look at it with. I don't think it's just people who are in the public spotlight who can relate to this message. I think there are like many different audiences that could. First of all, you could look at it through the audience of someone who is an obsessive fan, and perhaps, maybe you would hope, helps them realize that a celebrity is still a human being. But I also feel like you don't have to be in any sort of, but you can be some fuckhead in a small town and possibly relate to Mima's story here. Because I feel like it's somewhat of a universal message on public image and personal identity. The best example that I can give here, I already said, like, maybe you're some kid in a fuckhead small town where things get around super easily, or reputations can be ruined super easily. I'm willing to bet that anyone who experienced the wild west of the internet and the birth of social media, probably a lot of you have stories that are somewhat similar to Mima's here. I think a lot of people, especially girls going through puberty, could relate to Mima's story, where the personality image has changed, and then others start public smear campaigns of their image. I'm thinking of like, I don't know why, it just makes me think of like small town MySpace drama, or for me it was Bebo. All of the drama happened on Bebo. All of the public smear campaigns of like other students happened on Bebo. So while I think it's mostly showcasing the entertainment industry and not only a celebrity struggle with personal identity, but how obsessive fans feed into that, I think on a smaller level, it's still a pretty universal message. But the obsessive fans, oh my god, does Perfect Blue have such a fantastic depiction of obsessive fans. And the obsessive fan here is a male, but obviously they come in all genders and shapes and sizes and creeds and whatever. I think that the depiction and portrayal of Mr. Me-Mania, as much as he makes me absolutely sick to my stomach to look at, his portrayal is so perfect. He is so perfectly an obsessive fan who doesn't see the artist or celebrity or person as a human being, rather he sees them as a possession. Mr. Me-Mania's behavior towards both Mima and Mimarin can be applied to just about any fan who takes their love for something or someone way too far into like delusional fields. And especially nowadays, with where the internet is a big thing in this film, and now the internet is bigger than it was in 1997. Yeah, there's a shit ton of me-manias out there. And they're probably way worse. There have been a few like caricatures of this archetype, of this type of person in existence, especially whenever a person or piece of media gets really big. Sometimes the creators will lash out a little bit at the super obsessive and parasocial fans. And I just think that, of all of the caricatures of this archetype that I've seen, I feel like Mr. Me-Mania is one of my favorites. Again, he makes me sick to my stomach every time that he's on the screen, but I mean, honestly, he should. That's probably the point. And I do also just want to note, speaking of media who has provided caricatures of obsessed fans in order to make a statement, Mr. Me-Mania, his room specifically filled with all of the Mimarin posters. Dude, that shit reminded me of the obsessed fan from Powerpuff Girls. As much as I love the narrative, I also very equally love how Mima's mental state is depicted through the film's like very trippy scene transitions, illusions, and weird time loops. Or like, they're time loops, but they're also not time loops, but they are. It's very interesting. While the jarring yet seamless scene transitions and loops can make the audience feel confused or lost over what is happening in the narrative, I mean, I don't think it's there just to piss you off. I think it's there specifically to make you feel confused and uncertain of what's happening. The blurriness over what's really happening, like what's real, what's an illusion, is super intentional because I think it's trying to literally make the audience feel the way that Mima feels in those moments. And it specifically starts to happen in the final third of the film when Mima's own mental state is reaching its breaking point. It's like, instead of just showing that Mima is beginning to doubt what's real and what's fake or what's a dream, and just showing that she no longer understands what's happening, is pulling the audience down to her level. And it's like it's saying, our main character, whose perspective that we're following, she doesn't understand what the hell is happening. So neither should you. You are watching this through her, not literally, but you're experiencing it through her perspective and her eyes. So if she doesn't understand what's happening around her, why should the audience? It's sort of it's like immersive in a way. Because we're primarily seeing the narrative through Mima's perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense to create those jarring jumps in the timeline and make everybody question what the hell is going on. And it makes sense to me because, I mean, as somebody who has once before been in a very bad mental state, I think it's accurate. And I think the scene transitions and everything are very effective because if you're in a bad enough mental space, then yeah, like, time and timelines don't make sense and everything blurs together and it gets very confusing and you get uncertain over what actually happened and what didn't happen. So I found this technique in storytelling to be extremely effective because I think it's very realistic to Mima's circumstance. Now, I could see some normal people who run across this movie and get to this point in the narrative, the final like 30 minutes-ish, where things start to become more trippy and uncertain. I can see normal people getting here and feeling irritated or annoyed by the confusion that the narrative is creating. On my initial watch, when I came to this part, obviously I have watched plenty of movies that have like confusing moments or vague moments, things that are up into interpretation or are a little bit like artistic or avant-garde, whatever. So when I came to this part, yes, I was very confused. I didn't know what the hell was happening, but I was just along for the ride. However, I did think about all of the people I know who would have harsh words over the fact that this is happening in the film. I know people who would love this movie. They would love the story. They would love the ending. They would be all about it, but they would hate it for 2 reasons. Actually 3. Because the third that I just remembered is the fact that you have to read the dialogue to watch the movie, and there are some people who just will not do that. But the other things that came to my mind, I know people who would love this movie but would hate it or not enjoy it simply because it's animated, which is like so weird to me, but whatever. And then they would also not like it because of these weird illusions and transitions that happen in the final third. And can I rant? Can I just like rant really quick? Little detour. These motherfuckers, love you guys, but these motherfuckers love psychological horror, love psychological thrillers, and they love it until it actually showcases the trippy, weird, confusing aspects of going into psychology for a narrative. Like, if a psychological narrative gets too weird for them, they don't like it. Love these people in my life, but oh my god, do you drive me up a fucking wall. Take this movie, make it slightly less weird, and make it actual people instead of a cartoon, and they'll be foaming at the mouth over it like it's fucking Midsommar or Hereditary or what the fuck ever. Oh my fucking god. I'm sorry, sometimes I feel like Billy in the Chupacabra episode of Grim Adventures. I can't fucking stand it.
Am I the only one who understands the complexities of this ambitious cinematic masterpiece?
So yes, I recognize why some audiences, the normies, might not like the trippy and confusing nature of Perfect Blue, despite it being such an excellent narrative. I absolutely adore the use of these trippy, like, weird yet fluid. Like, here's the thing. Yes, the transitions are jarring, but at the same time, they happen very fluidly, seamlessly, as I have already said. They are really good transitions. Are they weird? Are they jarring? Do they happen in the middle of a sentence? Yes, but at the same time, it happens so fluidly. I love it so much that the film uses these weird scene transitions or these strange time loops that are loops but also not loops. I love how it uses that to display Mima's altered state of mind. And I also find it to be, as I already said, very effective. Anyone who has been in a horrible mental state, as Mima has been in, knows that time is weird during that period. And so showcasing it in this way, I thought was extremely effective and also aids in the narrative. And doing it this way is significant to the story that's being told. Like, I can't even imagine watching Perfect Blue and these weird, trippy moments being cut out of it or changed. It would not have the same impact as it does, especially on your first watch. On your first watch, these moments are so trippy. There's one moment that happens, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm just gonna like show it on the screen for those of you who have seen the film. Like, there's so much that's happening in this weird moment that I feel like we can do something with it, but I haven't figured out what to do with it or say about it yet. It's just like, what do I make of this? Dude, there's just so many questions. And while the ghost of Mimarin is a great way of portraying like Mima's mental state and what's going on with her, I just think all of these transitions and the weird time loops and all of this trippy shit are just another great way of portraying how Mimarin is gaining a mind of her own. However, it's not just Mima whose mental state that we kind of get a look into through illusions or hallucinations or whatever. There are also many moments where our stalker, Mimania, his mental state is portrayed through visuals in the film as well. Although with him, it's less about time and it's more just illusions and hallucinations. With Mima, a lot of it has to do with time. And my favorite moment, like, God, I have such a love-hate relationship with this moment. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, but at the same time, like, the close-up that they do of his face, it just, like, I want to hit him. I want to punch him so bad. My favorite moment of the film displaying Mimania's mental state is when the group Cham is no longer a trio, but a duo of the two former girls, and they're on a stage performing their new song. And I think on Mima's room, it was said that Mimarin was going to be at this this concert, even though she's not a part of the group anymore. And instead of accepting the fact that Mima has moved on from Cham and that she's not there, what Mimania does instead is hallucinate that she is on stage between her two former performers. And I love this moment so much because it's the little details that count so much in this film and do so much. He is imagining her up there with them instead of accepting the fact that she is not in Cham anymore. And he imagines her with her old uniform and doing the old routine to a completely different song while the two remaining members are performing the new song. So there's no syncing of what's actually happening and what he's imagining. Dude, I love this moment so fucking much. It is like one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. Oh my god, do I love it. And now it is time to get into that spoiler discussion. If you have not seen Perfect Blue and the discussion so far has piqued your interest, please skip here or just to the conclusion chapter so that you aren't spoiled about things concerning the ending. I'm sorry, but I can't watch this movie and not talk about the ending. Like, are you kidding me? There has to be a full-on spoiler discussion for this video because that ending had me floored on my first watch. I was in such shock. Please, I am begging you, if you have not seen Perfect Blue, don't watch this section. If you have seen it, welcome in, listen to me rave about the ending. So first, let me raise a question to you guys who have seen the movie and know more about it than I currently do. I really want to know, is there any significance over how Mr. Mimania and Rumi's eyes are drawn? Is there any significance to the fact that both of their eyes are drawn super far apart? Because the fact that our two antagonists have super far apart eyes doesn't really seem like a coincidence to me, but I don't know its significance or if it has, maybe, I don't know. I was just very curious about that. So as you can probably guess, on my first watch, the reveal that Rumi had anything to do with this whole thing that's happening, it's just so it shocked me. It shocked me so hard. I was screaming. I could not have bet any amount of money that it would be revealed that Rumi is a main driving force at keeping the ghost Mimarin alive. So until her reveal, the focus is very obviously heavily on Mr. Mimania. And so I thought, listen, the whole first watch, I thought like, oh, this obsessed stalker, he's running the blog, he knows so much because he's stalking her, because we see him every move that she makes. I thought he was running the website and that he was pretending to be Mima for his own personal fantasy. Well, then what about the emails? We see him emailing somebody else. Yeah, the dude is fucking crazy, man. I thought he was like in a Word document just typing to himself, being delusional as fuck, because everything up until that point has proven that he is crazy and delusional. So why would he not just be talking to himself on like a Word document? That made complete sense to me. But then Rumi was revealed to be a main part of this whole operation, and girl, I was stunned. I couldn't speak. Like, there's not a whole, I don't feel, even on my rewatches, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of clues in the first two halves of the film leading up to her reveal to like even give the notion that she would have anything to do with this. And so that's another reason why I think it is so well written, because this was a truly unexpected twist. And it still wasn't even, after the first watch, I was like, oh, so he was actually emailing somebody and it was Rumi and he's taking information from Rumi to write the blog. It still took me until the second watch to realize that no, Rumi is the one that's running Mima's room. At least I believe. If I'm wrong on that, please tell me. From what I understand, Rumi is the one that's running Mima's blog, and when Mr. Mimania is saying that he's emailing Mimarin, he is emailing Mimarin, but it's Rumi. Basically, he's not typing to himself. He actually was emailing with somebody, but it was somebody pretending to be Mimarin. I love this reveal. I love Rumi getting in on the like fucked upness of keeping the persona Mimarin alive. So not only do we get the perspective of the celebrity Mima and the obsessed fan, Mr. Mimania, but we are also getting the perspective of somebody who used to be a pop idol and is still attempting to desperately cling to that title or that lifestyle in a Norma Desmond-like fashion. I think there are some who could argue that Rumi is an example of another obsessed fan, and yeah, she probably is somewhat of a fan, but I think it runs a lot deeper than that, because early on we do learn that she used to be a pop idol herself.
ここが正念場なんだ。ミマが一人前の女優として認められるかどうかのな。
でもミマはアイドルで売っていくべきですよ。
海ちゃん、日高ルミが現役だった頃とは時代が違うのよ。
分かってますよ。
So to me, what I think is happening with Rumi and her perspective of this narrative is that she's projecting her own wants and desires of continued stardom onto another idol who has a lot of promise and talent, which in this case would be Mimarin. And I know you don't see it, like I said, you don't see a whole lot of hints that Rumi has anything to do with this, but you can see that she is attempting to live vicariously in a way through Mima. And one of the ways that she lives vicariously is by running Mima's room. But when Mima changes her career path, this kind of throws a gigantic wrench within Rumi's vision or fantasy or idea. And so she lashes out by continuing to roleplay Mimarin on Mima's room, and she talks about how unhappy she is, how people are forcing her to do this.
全部無理やりやらされてるの。全部脚本家が悪い。違うよ、これは私じゃない。当たり前よ、これが本当のミマだもの。
And that to me is just like the source of why Mimarin, the ghost of Mimarin, has come to life. Norman, can you just calm down? And upon rewatches, you can tell in a lot of these Mima's Room blog posts, she is upset about and writing about specifically with things that Rumi thinks Mima shouldn't be doing or that she disagrees with her doing. While I did talk about how Mimania and Mima herself, they're like big driving forces in giving this persona life or sentience, like it feels like the main source is probably Rumi because she's on the internet pretending to be Mimarin. She is portraying or playing the role of Mimarin, and that is what's giving it the most life, in my opinion. It just gives another extra layer to what's happening in this film and what makes it so cool and unique. There's like a lot of moving parts in this, and since we just discussed how the trippiness of the film can really lean into or display each character's mental state, the way the film showcases the mental states of Mimania and Mima through hallucinations and illusions, it also showcases Rumi's mental state, especially at the end. I mean, the end is where we get to see a lot of Rumi's mental state and how bad it really is. In these final moments, there are quite a few places where the audience gets to watch the morphing between Mimarin and Rumi. But one of my favorite moments, again, it's so brief and it's such a teeny tiny detail, but again, it's one of my favorites. All of the scenes that have like tiny details hinting at what's going on, chef's kiss. I love it so much. But my favorite with Rumi is whenever Mimarin is chasing Mima. It's towards the end. This is all spoilers, so who cares, right? It's the ending. And during this chase sequence, there's a moment where Mimarin is passing a window that is just all glass, and you get to see her reflection. And her reflection is Rumi struggling to chase after Mima. Who knows? Who actually sees her as Rumi in this moment? Do you think it's like the outsiders looking in? Because we know that Mima sees Mimarin, and Rumi also sees herself as Mimarin. So this is one of the few moments in the sequence where we get a sneak peek of what outsiders are probably looking at if they were to see this chase scene happen themselves. And I don't know, the reflection of the glass showcasing the reality that it's actually Rumi and not Mimarin as a ghost. It just like, I don't know. I love this moment so much. I really do. It's such a quick little detail that just adds so much, man. I don't know. I just love this movie. Can I just love this movie? Do I have to be all like deep and analytical about it? I just love it. Every choice and decision that was made for every single little detail, every single little thing that's happening. It's just so, God, it's so good. It's so perfect. Overall, I think it's obvious as I'm struggling to, why do I feel like I'm struggling to talk about it? Probably because I have so many thoughts about it. There were so many thoughts happening at the same time regarding this film because I ended up loving Perfect Blue way more than I was expecting to, you know? I mean, like, I knew that I would enjoy it, but I didn't know that I would love it the same way that I love, like, I don't know, like House of a Thousand Corpses, or as I said, Magic. But I'm willing to put Perfect Blue at the number 2 spot because, dude, oh my god. What is my cat doing? You have to understand, there's so much that happens in this. There's so much that could still be like discussed or talked about. There are several aspects of this film that I didn't even like remotely touch on in this video. Because if I tried to, this would probably be like 2 hours long and it would take me way longer to try and write it. Some of the things that I didn't get to note on, like, you know, the way the drama that Mima acts in the film, how that is pretty much directly related to what's happening in her actual life. I also, you know, I didn't talk about the art because there were so many other things to talk about, but the art direction of this film is gorgeous. And listen, there's probably a shit ton more. In fact, the stuff that I've shared, I feel like is just scratching the surface. I feel like you could go way deeper and like more intelligent about this film than I could for this video. There's just so much going on here. I don't think it is a film for everybody. If you're somebody if you don't like weird movies, then stay out of the conversation. Let us weirdos love this movie, okay? I think the point that I'm trying to make is that there are, like, I hate saying the word normie, but normie audiences who would come across Perfect Blue and not like it. So like, if you don't like Eraserhead or House 1977, then you're probably not gonna like Perfect Blue. But if you do like those films, you're probably going to be fucking obsessed with Perfect Blue. And I now understand why I had so many students write their analysis papers on this film, because like there's so much that could be discussed and talked about here. The narrative is so well written. I think it's very unique. I think it's something that is kind of becoming timeless, especially in the age of like being mentally ill online. I don't know, because the way Mr. Mimania acts towards Mima in this film, yes, we can apply it to celebrities, but I think we can also apply it to internet personalities, especially with a certain person named Jolene. What I'm getting at is that I'm pretty sure the message that's being told here is one that is pretty timeless to our lives now, because fame is more reachable, and so what Mima experiences in this is more likely to happen to like the average person now, the random person on TikTok who like suddenly blows up. I don't think it's gonna be for everyone, but I think there are a lot of people who are going to love this. And if you like my channel, if you trust what I have to say, then I think you will like Perfect Blue. Yeah. So what tier will I be giving Perfect Blue? I think this is obviously an easy A tier. If my desperate attempts at trying to... Girl, are you good? If my desperate attempts at trying to explain all of the things that I love about this movie has proven anything, go watch it. It is easy A tier. Like I said, I feel like my discussion here has only like barely scratched the surface of what we could be talking about in regards to this film. And those of you who have seen it, I would absolutely love to hear some ideas, some analysis, and I don't know, just some like discussion about this movie and what's your takeaway from it. And so with that, we are done with yet yet another movie review. Thank you guys so much if you stuck around all the way until the very end. If you like this video, please make sure that you stab that like button. It is a free and easy way to help support this channel. And also, is there a movie that you would like to hear my opinion on? Put it in the comments down below and you might see it show up in a future video. Also, did you, for some reason, just like this rambling discussion so much, that you would like to hear me ramble more about horror movies, B movies? We get into fantasy films, disturbing cinema, hidden gems on Tubi, genuine horrible trash. This summer we're doing a summer in Tromaville. If any of that piques your interest, or if you just like to hear me ramble about movies in general, please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can be notified anytime I make a new upload. Which new uploads are every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on the screen are some more of my socials. If you would like some additional STARGUTZZZ content, you can find it on the live channel right here. We will be going live tonight about 6 or 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bully did not work out last week. I couldn't get Bully and OBS to to work with each other. So at this current moment, I have no idea what we're doing on stream, but we'll do something. If you cannot join, or if what we're doing does not interest you, but you still want additional STARGUTZZZ content, all of the former live streams stay up on the channel so you can watch them at your own leisure. And now just one final thank you so much to all of you who stayed around until the very end. Our time here is precious, and the fact that you have used your time to sit here and listen to me. I think I was just like very mindlessly rambling. I wouldn't doubt that there are a few half thoughts, half sentences in there. I don't know. But thank you so much for joining me on this ride and for staying until the very end. Our time here is precious, and the fact that you've used your time in this manner, it really means a lot to me, and I really appreciate you and your time. Thank you so much. If I do not see you in the live stream, then I will see you in the next video, but until then, please have a great night and stay safe out there.